Yeah, we got any fellow clients in the house? Yeah, I love it. Yeah, if you see a hand up next to you and yours isn't, ask them about Fello.
Okay.
Or do you want to put it somewhere?
Well, for those of you that don't know what Fello is a database engagement tool that focuses on seller conversion.
Wherever you think.
Our number one goal is to generate you more listings, and if anybody knows anything about generating more listings, it is these three people that I have on the couch today. But before I get into things today, I do want to give a special shout out to someone on the couch today for taking a chance on a kid when he was 18 after he walked into their office and asked him if he could start putting signs in the ground. So big shout out to Amy Wienands, full circle moment having her here today. So appreciate her. But let's get into it. If you guys just want to introduce yourselves, talk about your team, your production, and kind of where you're at this year. If you just want to introduce yourself.
I was talking to Daniel about you.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so your market, your team, where you're at for production this year?
So our production this year, we're gonna land about 475 transactions, which is a little bit down from last year. But I feel like we are locked in for 2025 and going deep into our database, which I think we're gonna talk about today. And so we'll be shifting those numbers forward quickly.
Yeah, love it.
So hey guys, I'm in San Diego. All our business is in San Diego County and then leaks into like South Riverside County. We'll close out the year right about 300 transactions, 300 million, roughly.
Love it.
Nice. Hey everybody, we're in Minneapolis and Western Wisconsin. We have a team of 110 agents. We will sell just shy of 1,200 homes this year. It'll be by far our best year ever, and
Congrats, Parker.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Cool.
It's really great.
Well, as I said, guys, Fello is a database engagement tool, and each of these leaders up here have transformed their databases into an asset that generates more business for them. And ultimately, the way that they do this is showing up in a big way for their agents and their team. And so one of the biggest things that we believe in here at Fello and why we're even up here with these guys is because, your database is your biggest asset. And, one of the things that we see in the industry is that many agents and teams aren't treating their database as an asset and they're not owning their business. And so we always ask the question, are you renting or are you owning your business? And so what I mean by that is a lot of agents and teams are relying on third-party sources to grow their database, but they're not diving deeper into an asset that they already own, right? And so I'm gonna start just with Dan, with you here. You've built an incredible brand, and it's probably hard for people not to recognize you in San Diego, and I know you have a great database. So what does that principle of owning versus renting your business mean to you, and how have you implemented that principle into your business today?
So I'm assuming that when you say owning versus renting, you're referencing, I guess, all your business is simply from you buy a lead, you sell a house. Right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Well, what's built our whole business, going well back, is I only ever invested in the seller side of the business. Everything that we spent our money on, our time on, our energy, our creativity, you name it, was always on the listing side of the business. And so, as a byproduct of that, we would still sell, triple figures on the buyer side, but it was a huge catalyst because, things are changing now with even the NAR changes. We can now start getting paid more on the buyer side. But for years, when we built our business that way, we could take a listing at say 6%, keep 3.5%, pay out 2.5%. I know some people in some markets don't like that. In my market, that's entirely normal. No one would ever see a word about it. And so, in other words, I could push so much more fee to the listings on the listing side, which created a huge economic advantage. Also, from a split structure perspective, I'm going to be able to pay a listing agent less money than on the buyer side. They're going to be able to do more volume, though, because you can carry so much more and do so much more on the listing side than you can on the buyer side. But for me, that gets me an even greater economic advantage. And so the evolution of that turns into you end up with the financial resources, having built our business that way, to have wins in the categories of branding, of marketing, but also of the kind of personnel that you can afford to hire.
Totally.
And if you don't want to spend any of the money there, then it just drops down to profit. So there's There's a huge, I don't know that I did it so, knowing that everything that ended up turning into, but it was a really, really good way to build the business.
Yeah. Parker, Amy, you guys got anything to add on that?
Yeah, specifically speaking about platforms like Zillow Flex and HomeLight, right? Zillow Flex, if that were to go away for some teams, they lose potentially 50% of their business. And so that would be considered renting, right? Because you're working through these platforms. That's how I got my start. 2016, I got licensed and started selling homes, and I needed to find a lead source. And so I went straight through buyers, and I became very good at converting leads. Everything from a Facebook lead to a Zillow lead. And I was borderline obsessed with the back-end systems and processes of conversion, because when you're putting $1,000 into the machine, you need to make sure you're getting 5 to 10 back.
Totally.
At least in 2016, that was possible. Now it's a little less possible. That transitioned into becoming obsessed with what we were doing for those clients long term, because in today's market, you take a Zillow Flex lead, sure, like it's a client, but you're paying 40% off the top, and a lot of agents are paying 50-50 with their team. But what is the lifetime value of that client? And so we look at it as an opportunity that we get to take somebody in, provide a great experience, sell a home, create a raving fan, and then have those opportunities for years to come, which is where Fello enters the picture, right? Because it's a tremendous asset in that process of keeping the relationship alive. So that was, for me, it's kind of the reverse of Dan, actually. It was very buyer heavy. And I said, if we're going to sell all of these buyers, we need to make sure we're going to catch them on the back end. And I basically just looked at it the same way that I looked at the conversion of the buyer lead, but now we're looking at it in terms of forever clients.
Totally. Yeah, I think one of the things that we talk about at Fello all the time is, there is only 2 types of leads that exist in the world, either a homeowner or a renter. And so as you've built these databases over the years, we want to start to identify who are those homeowners and start to put our leverage instead of in the sources that we've used in the past into what we've already invested in. So that's great. I know that many agents buy leads and they kind of just store them away in their CRM and they kind of just hope, but what other specific strategies have you guys used to get value from your database in specific, and what tangible results have you guys seen from that?
Well, we have an ISA team, and our ISA is, our agents, if you give out leads, whatever, I don't mean to say anything, Carly and Mitch, but literally they're going to quit, they're not going to prospect, and they're going to drop the call, they're going to get busy, and we're going to lose it, right? Mm-hmm. So our ISA team has done a great job. In fact, we just pulled their numbers, and they're responsible for 1/3 of our sales this year. So they generated it, so we're thankful for that. But we locked in that way. And then because I've been a student of Dan and John's, I've been locking into my email. And that's a muscle that I've never had to flex. I've never considered myself a good writer or a good communicator, really. But I'm having to sit there and do that, and it's hard for me. But I'm like, your email, your database, I didn't see the value of it because I had a machine going, and it felt like I didn't have to focus on that. We were doing so much business, it didn't matter. And then when you start to pull the covers back, and you're like, hey, I'm going to cut that, we're going to get rid of that, I got to go deep into what I have. So I'm locking in the emails, and obviously we love Fello. That's been fantastic, just staying close to our but you have so much gold in your database. We were typically a team that would sell about 70% of it was referral. So we just had massive referrals always. And then as the market tightened up, inventory tightened up, our market dropped 50%. I'm like, we gotta go deep into relationships and deep into those emails. And what's vibing on the emails is personal. That's where we're getting the most response.
Totally. Love it. Well, guys, we're almost to 2025. So what do you need to do now to unlock profit in your business so that you're going to have an amazing year in 2025?
I'll start. I think the way that we look into projecting into what we want to do for the next year, first of all, we get really clear on our expenses. So we like to play strategic defense. Once our defense is covered, we go into aggressive offense mode. And for us, it's prospecting, it's recruitment, it's getting the sales activities built up now so that those are January 1st in Minnesota. Yes, it's really cold, but we're a month away from the spring marketplace. We want our agents already building that pipeline. And it's like clockwork, it starts to get cold. That's when you start to prospect. And we've been doing that for years. So.
For us, looking at profit for 2025, we're in the middle of just a very strict audit of everything, and really with a no sacred cows approach. Everybody has to re-earn their position on the org chart. Everything is being challenged. I'm spending a lot of time talking to people in my general geography, because sometimes if I bring back to my team, hey, Parker and Amy do X, Y, and Z, they go, oh, but they're in Iowa and they're in Minnesota. So I'm talking a lot which I don't think matters at all, by the way. But, so I'm looking at a lot of teams and businesses across Southern California, really dissecting how much business are you doing? What's your personnel look like? Show me your org chart. I want, between here and over the course of basically the next 30 days, because I need to have this well done and completed before we move into 2025. And for our 2025 plan meeting, which is a 2-day offsite, which hopefully you have, at least a 1-day or a 2-day offsite where you are planning. I'm doing these case studies of, Colton Witten, for example, who's in Orange County. Here's how much business he's doing. Very similar amount of business to us, almost identical. And here's what his org chart looks like. Why does ours look like that? Where's the bloats? What can we remove? Why did we, here's something that I started to find in my business. I'll just share it with you in case you ever find it starting to happen in yours. It's kind of an exaggeration I'll share, but got to the point where it almost seemed, especially in good times, where you'll allow yourself to, it's like if you were setting up a table and we had an employee for plates, like an employee who could place plates. But God forbid that person could also use spoons. So we needed a spoon person. And it's really easy to do that in really good times.
Yep.
And so we're just breaking it down, and I'm just pushing back a lot and challenging how much personnel do we really need to have? Where's our limiting beliefs around what's possible? What is automated and what's not? Why, et cetera. And so that's my, from a profit perspective, that is my biggest exercise. From a sales funnel perspective, which is very directly related to now something we could do because of the technology that you provide, is we are very heavy on the cash offer message. But what I found, and you have to be ready for, is if you ever go heading into the cash offer message right now to produce revenue, a moment ago I was talking about reducing expenses, is that, first of all, it works phenomenally well. The problem is that someone calling in for their cash offer, now your sales process looks very different than what it might have been before. And so like the number one task that we're finding we have to do is, okay, hold on, we have to revisit our qualifying conversation, our intake conversation, to understand that you asked for a cash offer, but you spent your entire time on the phone talking to us about how you have the greatest home in the world, it's so beautiful, and how blah, blah, blah. Right, you don't want a cash offer. You were attracted to the message, but you actually want highest price. But Parker's talking about how he really wants it to happen fast, doesn't want a lot of people through. I can hear a little shame in his voice, and he doesn't actually really even have plans yet on where he's going. I'm like, all right, that's a cash offer. But restructuring the way you qualify that, when that's what's driving the inbound inquiry, is something to just be aware of and prepared for, but definitely something worth doing, because the flow is heavier than it's ever been ever since we've leaned 100% of our seller assets, our marketing assets, our messaging, our 100% points to your tool.
That's really good.
Yeah. Amy, what's one of your top best practices or innovative approaches that you've adopted recently that has helped you guys secure more listings in the last 18 months?
So I think we always have a message that we're not a one size fits all. We have different programs. We offer the guaranteed sale. We have a cash offer program. We have not bought many homes this past year, but I think this year we will. In years previous, it's been a great income source for us, right? But so I see that coming back in line again, because we are starting to get those phone calls, and I'm thankful because of how we're responding to them. It was like, back up. So thanks for the feedback, Dan. I'm like, I needed to hear that. But we're launching because we want to drive agent productivity. We want them to enter. Like I'm always like, this is like the gold time. Go crush it right now. So we actually just launched a thing, and we opened it up to our entire market called 42 Strong. We've got 42 days, and it's a commitment on video and texting and email follow-up and What else, Carly? You guys are doing it?
That's what.
Social media. Like, so we're leveraging that so that we go into 2025 with deals in the pipeline already and hit it hard, because in our market by January 15th, it's spring, right? So I think that we're positioning ourselves that way just with the discipline, but this is a massive action time. This is not a sit back, and this is I think you've heard it from so many platforms that it's a belly to belly, connect with a human being, get in front of them, and it's not sit back and just send a drip email campaign kind of environment.
100%. I think, and one of the common denominators that I'm hearing, and I'm not sure if you guys as well, is that, this is all going deeper into your business and the things that you've already invested in, right? Your team, your database, what assets do you have right now that can help you unlock more of that profit without having to pay more money in the future? I heard a quote the other day at a conference that I was at, and it was, if we're not in their inbox in November, we won't be in their yard in March. So right now is going to be the time that we need to really focus on diving deeper into our biggest asset, which is the things that we already own. So I just want to give it up for these guys today. That's kind of time. If you guys have anything else to add?
Hey, we love Fello, and more importantly, I love you.
Thank
Love
you.
you too.
Yeah.
What you got, Parker?
Let me give you a plug, because when we got onto Fello, initially we didn't have great success. We treated it like kind of every other source, right? You guys have ISAs, correct? You still have them? Yeah. We never were able to prevail with the ISA model, but we've had a lot of success with the salaried agent model, where we can control what the agent is doing. This is a full-time salaried role with bonus at closing, and we have put them specifically on the Fello account. There's 3 of them. So we can measure the number of calls, activities, follow-ups, and we've treated Fello like it's its own database. I know it integrates really well with Follow Up Boss, which is fantastic, but we log right into Fello and we work right out of Fello. And so the activities are increasing. You're treating each of these opportunities like it's a pay-per-click lead or it's a Zillow lead or whatever it is, because it's a number, it's a name, in your database. And then the analytics too will help you identify who's most qualified. So I wanted to mention that because, you talked about profitability. We can always cut and get more profitable, but you can't cut your way to growth, right? You have to do the activities to get you to boost growth. And so the second we did that, we've seen our conversion go up 3 times. We've listed more homes from Fello, which has been fantastic.
So in our market, we got, I just had Danica pull the numbers. So we've gone on 50 listing appointments, had 50 Fello leads this year. We have closed 17 of those. We've lost, this has also been good, it hurts your heart, but we lost 5. I never considered a loss until they list with somebody else, right? And the rest are just hanging out there and we're just nurturing them. But we lost 5, and then we went back and I'm looking at the agents that where are we not converting at? We got thrown off by, we just wanted the number, that's all we really wanted. When if we would have dug deeper on the appointment, they actually were getting ready to list it and just wanted a confirmation of value. So it's been a good tool for us, although I hate it when they pop up and say they just listed. That's what Fello does too.
Yeah.
So it's great. We love it.
Yeah, give it up for these guys. One thing I love about these 3 is not only are they an amazing inspiration to the industry, but one thing I know about them is that they are committed to the contribution of everyone around them, not just their agents, not just their community, but agents and teams across the country. And I would encourage any of you that if you don't all follow any of these 3 on social media, I would highly encourage you do that. It's not always just real estate and lead gen and how to create profit, but it's also about being a better human and leading with a servant heart. And I just got to give it up for these guys again. So thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Got it. Well, one thing, can you turn it back on quick? If any of you, hello? Cool. If any of you are interested in learning a little bit more about Fello, we're going to be over at booth 513, 514, right next to Follow Up Boss. We're actually announcing an exclusive promo for eXpcon, which is 70% off of our onboarding fee, which literally never happens. We had to fight pretty hard for that. So appreciate you guys and your time today, and go crush it this year.
soon.
Of course. Yeah, got you. Thank you for being on the panel. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Do you have Dan's thing? Thank you. Yeah, maybe. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Good. What's up, man? It's right over there by Follow Boss on the eXp commercial side. So, yeah, appreciate it, man.